record. Thank you very much. So, good morning, everybody. As everybody is aware, I'm sure it's been a little bit hot recently. So my facts for today are about heat. So the highest temperature ever recorded in the shade was 57.8 degrees Celsius, and that was in Libya on September the 13th, 1922. And according to NASA, when the temperature reaches 35 degrees Celsius or more, our work output drops by 45%. So those that didn't get much done Tuesday or yesterday, Monday or yesterday even, that's why. And as cool as a cucumber is an apt saying, is the inside of a cucumber can be as much as 11 degrees cooler than the outside temperature. Sorry, lost it a little bit there. The balls at Wimbledon are stored in a refrigerated container at 20 degrees Celsius until they are needed. I bet they were nice and cool the other day. The World Meteorological Organization's definition of a heat wave is when temperatures are over 5 degrees above average for 5 days in a row. And finally, the hottest chili in the world is the Caroline Reaper, which is a red and shiny chili with 2.4 million Scoville units, which is roughly 200 times hotter as a jalapeno. Could you imagine that? 200 times hotter than a jalapeno. Right. So now, quickly, on to our first speaker, which is Shane from Eco-Friendly Web Alliance, which is the world's first eco-standard for websites and digital infrastructure. Its mission is to accelerate the delivery of a sustainable digital economy, and Shane will be talking us through how you can contribute and offering a free site analysis so you can establish the carbon emissions on your own website. Are you there, Shane?
I'm here, Caroline. Nice
Excellent.
to meet you all. And thank you to Janet and Sam as well, and everyone in the IAB team.
Hi. Are you sharing your screen?
Let me start sort of sharing. Okay. I think you all can sort of see my screen as well. So our website is down at the moment. It's due to the heat. Apparently, the London data centers of used by both Google and Oracle. Quite a lot of websites have been knocked offline due to the heat. So I know there's many stories, and we've sort of experienced this also the last sort of 2 days. So sites been sort of offline since yesterday, and they're nowhere near in terms of getting or restoring some of the services. This is quite unprecedented. I mean, it's never happened, I guess, ever with this particular host, which is a very reliable host. But a lot of these things are now beyond our control with excess heat. And I read some stories around the rail system, sort of a railway sort of buckling under the heat, and lots of sort of the infrastructure. We're not used to this, right? So it's incredible how quickly some of these events have begun to sort of hit us, and the frequency with which we are sort of hearing about it, experiencing.
Sorry to interrupt, Shane. Does this mean you can't access the charts that you produced? Do you want me to pull them up?
I know I can share the slides. It's just that our website's down. Website's down, and
a lot of websites are down. I've had an email this morning. Mine is, but I don't think anybody will miss mine.
Let me get my screen up. Okay, bear with me. So we'll kind of go through this sort of fairly swiftly. I appreciate it's quite a hot morning. I'm working from home, and I've opened all the windows, and apparently there's sort of a little bit of a technique to doing that as well. As to which opens that you selectively open and which ones you keep closed, and then to kind of let that sort of hopefully kind of a little bit of sort of cool air come in. So I represent Eco-Friendly Web Alliance. We ended up sort of setting the roles first. I just read something. Those at Eco website is a lot of websites.
Yeah.
This is really, really unprecedented across the board, across sectors, across industries. What a sort of a stark reminder that we need to get a little bit more of a handle on this, right? And not going to go into politics, but
I think this
none of the
morning,
people are
Shane,
talking about it.
we just need to do your presentation rather than worry about websites, and
Absolutely,
we could be here all day, really.
Exactly, and I noted your sort of point on how our sort of productivity has dropped as well, like something like 35% due to
yeah,
45%. 45%. Wow, that's
45%
like almost half.
according to NASA. Yeah.
Wow. So the mission is basically accelerate the delivery of that sustainable digital economy or sustainable economy that we're all sort of working towards. The idea is by getting these websites, because there's about 2 billion websites out there, to get them to be a little bit more environmentally friendly, so we can reduce that sort of environmental impact, getting them to be eco-friendly. And we're really proud to sort of announce as well that International Association of Bookkeepers themselves have sort of gone through the process and now leading the way with an eco-friendly website as well, operating within that sort of low carbon threshold. So what a brilliant example that is. And we need more and more that happening across the board. It's in fact your sort of start to your initial step in terms of reducing your digital emissions, because there's a lot more you can do in terms of your digital practices, behavior, systems that we basically use, etc. So we're very, very community driven. We're a big corporation to be going forward. We're also sort of investing our time and money in terms of developing open source sort of toolkits as well, so to make it as inclusive as possible for everyone, and also sort of collaborating with others in terms of creating other kind of open standards as well, bringing together accessibility as well as but low carbon thinking, and where everything's sort of led by a scientific advisory board, which I'm really proud of. So this is where we are getting most of our sort of strength from. Internet sort of carbon emissions are at an all-time high, 3.7%. It's gone under the radar because we don't see any visible sort of residue emissions. When we want to blame somebody for basically global warming, we tend to sort of look to the skies, the aviation, or fossil fuels, for example. But internet sort of emissions happen because of the energy source. 70 to 80% of the energy is coming from fossil fuels. So we have a very strong, basically carbon impact. 3.7% at the moment of global carbon emissions, which is more than aviation, which is at around 3%. And internet at the moment basically is responsible for 10% of the global energy consumption as well, 10%. And this is set to double around in about 8 years' time. So there's a lot of work to be done to sort of get a bit more of a control over that. When I say internet, it includes the data centers, the transmission networks, and also sort of end user devices as well. And websites are a key part of this, because we end up sort of using quite a lot of data center energy, or electricity rather, in terms of the data transfer that happens when you access a website. So it's quite important for us. It's very important for us to sort of consume responsibly in that regard. So how do we sort of reduce that energy consumption of websites by keeping that web page size low and becoming basically eco-friendly, like IAB now has done. So websites, very quickly, if you were to look at them from a basically carbon emissions perspective, heavy and kind of bloated websites sort of emit around about 7 to 10 grams of CO2 every time somebody visits a web page. This is per page width. Average website's about 2 grams of CO2, so not too bad. But an eco-friendly one is one that is under 1 gram across the website, across all pages. So it's a good sort of starting point, a good step in that sort of right direction, if you like. We also sort of invite organizations to look at like climate positivity as well in terms of their website by hosting to, basically getting your site hosted by a green host. And there's quite a few organizations out there. It's really easy to do, very competitive sort of pricing. We don't directly endorse anyone, but we encourage people to move towards sort of green hosting, because these organizations are a lot more sort of responsible in terms of how they use energy, as well as using renewable energy in terms of their powering of their data centers to host their websites, host your websites rather. And also at the end of the year, you could look at like taking responsibility for your website's annual emissions as well by multitude of ways, like reforestation, rewilding, regenerative farming, etc. So the website is working. Thank you so much for that. That's a bit of a relief. I got a message. The site is Thank you, Jan. Visualizing websites emissions, an average website, so 2 gram per page website produces about 100 kilograms of CO2 for the year with just 5,000 monthly page views. One could argue that's not too much. It's only 100 kilograms, but these numbers do add up. It's equivalent energy to sort of light an LED bulb for about 3.5 years non-stop. But with 50,000, say, monthly page views, you're looking at that average website emitting about 1 ton of CO2 for the year. 10 times that, and a lot of these websites sometimes like they hit like, million mark, few million monthly page views, you're looking at about 10 tons. So with just 500K monthly page views, you're emitting 10 tons of CO2 in that website for the whole year. We've got people like London and Partners who've taken this on board. This the official basically city promotion agency for London, supported by the London Mayor. They are basically attracting about 3, 4, 5 million for their websites per month, each website. So you can imagine the impact by from a website that's maybe 5 grams to going down to sort of under 1 gram has got to makes a massive difference in terms of the overall carbon emissions for that. They themselves have sort of gone through the process and are now a certified eco-friendly website. So the process is very, very simple. It's really easy to get started in that regard. We start with a free audit. There's no obligation. We're very happy to do as many free sort of website audits as possible. You get a nice little audit report on your health of your website from an environmental sort of perspective. But it also sort of these sites, when you sort of made some of the improvements, should it require a little bit of an improvement, they tend to sort of perform better as well, and it contributes positively to the performance of the site, how the site ranks on search engines, for example, as well as the loading speed, etc. So it's better from an environmental perspective, but also better for business as well. So the first step is basically getting it to be under 1 gram. To get there, we start off with that initial audit, free audit, no obligation. You get a nice little audit report. Should you sort of wish to sort of explore any of the accreditations, then we will tell you how as well, and the process around that. So there are 2 pathways. One is to go eco-friendly. The other one is to become climate positive in terms of a website, when you basically commit to switching to green energy in your next renewable cycle. And thirdly, at the end of the year, you look at a way in which you can take responsibility for your annual carbon emissions for that site based on the site visits by your audience. Process is very straightforward, starting with that initial free audit. We provide like a optimization guide. This is very easy to do. You yourself, or maybe your basically webmaster can do that very easily. That's if the site were to be found to be over 1 gram of CO2 per page width. And then if it's under, then you're already within the standard. Then we basically, it's making that ongoing commitment, sort of operating the site within those sort of low carbon kind of limits, if you like. And we do a quarterly audit as well, just to sort of help you maintain that standard. You get also communication resource pack as well to make that announcement, and you can put it on your blog, and also sort of become a little bit of catalyst for that change as well, inviting and encouraging, inspiring other websites and other organizations sort of not ignore the digital carbon footprint and take responsibility. So that's a beautiful statement to make, a powerful example to make, like IAB has now done so. So the contribution in terms of sustainable development goals as well, there's either a direct or indirect contribution to sustainable development goals as well, 8 of the 17 goals, I might add. Impact-wise, basically, we've set ourselves a lofty goal of basically preventing 500,000 tons of CO2 being added to the atmosphere by getting the websites across the world to be eco-friendly. We're also sort of driving a little bit of a community movement as well. And some may go through the formal accreditation process. Some may basically just sort of follow that process and do the change themselves and stay within those sort of parameters, if you like, in being either climate positive or eco-friendly. We've reviewed many websites for their carbon efficiency, energy efficiency. We do quite a lot of sort of pro bono work in terms of helping optimize some of the sites, particularly sort of charities and purpose-driven organizations. We do a lot of sort of pro bono knowledge sharing sessions as well. We don't charge for those sort of knowledge sharing sessions. 10% of our profits go to education of children from disadvantaged backgrounds. as well as putting that back into basically developing tools for the community as well for this to enable this change. Some of the organizations that we are working with and have gone through the process, we got some exciting leading brands sort of taking this up, including London and Partners, London Convention Bureau, the official sort of Convention Bureau, and 69B is a beautiful story as well. It was in the press today. They're London's first sort of sustainable fashion brand who's source all their basically garments from those who are basically applying those sustainability across their sort of supply chain. So there's quite a lot of beautiful stories, and we need to add IAB logo to this as well, and we'll be very proud to do so. So what you do is once a site goes through the process, if you go through that accreditation, once you meet the standard, you get the logo that you can display. It'll link back to our verification directory as well. So any of your basically people in the supply chain, stakeholders can check for the authenticity of the badge. Is it a live accreditation? What's the specific sort of website name, a company registration and things like that. So you know which site has been certified, whether it's live, and which certification basically program, whether it's climate positive or eco-friendly. So that's my presentation, and just want to let you know if you would like to basically get your site audited, give us a shout. If you go to our website, which is now apparently live.
Can I just interrupt, Shane? Because if you'd like Shane to audit your website, if you'd like a free analysis, if you just contact membership, and then membership will bridge that gap and put you in touch. If that's okay, brilliant. Shane, yeah? That's
wonderful. Thank you, Caroline. Thanks so much.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you. Has anybody any questions for Shane?
No, there's some quite amazing stats there, though, isn't there? I think this is an area that we're all totally blind to. So, yeah.
There's some big companies as well using them.
Very informative. You don't think when you visit a website that you'd be making that much of an impact on the environment. So it's really eye-opening, to be honest. Thank you for that, Shane. It was brilliant.
I didn't realise that it produced CO2 at all. So that just shows how ignorant I am to it. Yeah. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
John actually asks, how do you measure it?
So we basically look at the size of the pages and the data transfer that it basically causes when the page is loaded on a device. So we measure that using our calculator. There's a global unified approach on this as well now. Quite a lot of people have come together. There's a separate sort of a working group in W3C as well. So we're doing in that sort of collective fashion, agreeing on the calculation, progressing of that calculation. And the work is basically guided by the scientific advisory board. So we've got a 10-member scientific advisory board that includes climate scientists, product engineering and software engineering experts. So it's done in that fashion, and we're trying to sort of progress that conversation further. We need to start somewhere, right? We have to, start that process and try and sort of get everyone behind that and carry on, really, and try to sort of make a difference.
Well, I'll certainly be in touch through the membership. Eva just says, I was only aware of some of the things, and in general, I'm more used to SEO audits of websites. Right. Well, thank you, Shane. Very informative. And now we move on to Beki. And Beki's from Premierline Insurance, and this is a member benefit. Premierline specialises in working with small businesses and assisting in finding the right policies at competitive prices to protect your business. Beki will be talking about the importance of an insurance review and how you can identify risks in your business and that of your clients. Hi, Beki.
Hi, Caroline. Thanks ever so much, and thank you all for having me here today. It's a pleasure to speak to you all. Insurance is not the most exciting topic, so I promise I won't be here for hours and hours and hours, but I do just want to talk to you. It is something at the end of the day that protects your livelihood. So I'm just going to run through the importance of an insurance review, what we can do to help, and how you can manage your exposures. So let me just work out quickly how to share my screen. So,
big green button at the bottom, and it should let you.
Yeah. I believe, is that sharing?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, excellent. So let's try going full screen. There we go. Okay, So this is all about managing exposures for you and your clients. Insurance is something that typically most people will only look at once a year. And I hope for all of you that it is only something that you look at once a year, because if you're looking at it more often, it generally means that you're having a claim. But it is so important to ensure throughout the year that you have that cover in place, that you have the right cover in place. Things change all the time. We look at what's happened over the last 2 or 3 years. So I'm just going to talk you through some of the key points of managing your exposures. So firstly, a little introduction to Premierline. So we are Premierline Business Insurance Broker. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of Allianz Holdings. We are one of the largest employers in Lancaster. We employ just over 100 insurance experts now. We insure businesses of all shapes and sizes, whether that's a one-man band, a small to medium enterprise, to larger PLCs and affinity partnerships as well. We've got over 25,000 customers across the UK. Many of them hold more than one policy covering a range of exposures. So we're based in Lancaster, but we do work nationally. We work all over the UK. My next slide. So firstly, the importance of an insurance review. Does the cover meet your current needs? When you only visit your insurance once a year, it can be hard to remember sort of the cover that you have in place. I do it myself with my home insurance. I think, oh, did I take that out? Did I remember to protect that? Have I put that on yet? It is really, really important to ensure that you probably make it a quarterly check, just to check, is it meeting everything that I'm doing at the moment? Similarly, are the limits sufficient? We have limits of indemnity within business insurance, so you'll have your public liability and employer's liability, professional indemnity, but as your business changes throughout the year, these limits may need to change as well. So having that review of your limits is essential. It could be that you've taken on a new client, that you may have a contractual obligation to have a higher limit of indemnity for your professional indemnity. And sometimes these things can go completely overlooked. So always make sure that your limits are sufficient. Speak to ensure that everything is adequate for your clients. Moving on to how has your business changed? This is something that could happen overnight. It's something that can happen gradually throughout the year. For instance, startups will look at sort of smaller limits of indemnity. They'll go for sort of lower limits of insurance, but they can grow really, really quickly. So 6 months down the line, what they started with, when they initially took out the insurance, may not be adequate for what they've got at the moment. Excuse me. When COVID hit, everyone started working from home. Business requirements changed. A lot of home insurance policies don't cover business activities working from home. People may not have had cover for laptops, computer equipment, everything that they had to bring home. So it's really important to think, how has your business changed? Does my cover meet my needs at the moment? What are your client requirements? I touched upon this a moment ago. Some clients have specific needs, they have specific requirements, especially if you're dealing with larger businesses. They will have a need across the board with any contracts they sign to have X limit of professional indemnity, for instance. I can never get that one out. So we can always provide a letter for you to your clients. It's a simple one-pager, and it's a great way, actually, when you're prospecting clients, to say, this is what I've got in place. But if your client's requirements are different, then give us a call, speak to us as your broker, and we'd be able to look at that for you, manage those obligations for you as well. So are you fully protected? Do you have all the covers that you need? A lot of people, particularly startups, will take out sort of your public and employer's liability maybe, or a basic office cover, or a small amount of professional indemnity cover. But does that actually cover all of your exposures? What are your exposures, whether it's staff cover for laptops, computer equipment all over the UK when you're visiting clients, for liability insurance if they're now coming to a home office that you set up? Are you protected against all your eventualities? Okay. So what are my exposures? So as bookkeepers, you'll have office insurance potentially, whether you're working from home or you have a designated office premises. This encompasses a number of covers, so your computers, your liabilities, potentially business interruption as well. Obviously, that sort of comes as a standard package. But it is important to ensure that everything within that is up to date and standard. If you update your computer equipment, for example, is that in line with the sums insured in your office insurance? Professional indemnity, the limit of indemnity, we're finding a lot more in the market now that people are requiring much higher limits of indemnity. A lot of people would start with sort of 100, 200,000, maybe go up to 500,000. There are a lot of contractual obligations out there that require a minimum of $1 million, even up to 5 million, 10 million sometimes. So just ensure that all that meets your needs. For example, your professional indemnity, that would cover you if you were to make a miscalculation. So if you miscalculated somebody's tax obligation to HMRC, further down the line, they could be hit with a huge tax bill. If a mistake that's made causes one of your clients a financial loss, a significant financial loss, that is what your professional indemnity would cover. So it's important to consider the potential size of a loss when setting your limits and looking at all your insurances. The one that I really want to touch upon today is cyber insurance. This is something that is becoming more and more prevalent. We've heard of huge cyber attacks in the news, WannaCry and the attack against Sony and many others. You always see the big names, and people always think it'll never happen to me, but actually SMEs and smaller businesses are a really big target for cyber criminals. Some people may not have update software, that they're seen as sort of an easier target than the large corporations that are hitting the news. So that's what I'm going to focus on over the next couple of slides. Bear with me a second, I'm just working off two computers here. So, cyber insurance protects your business against risks related to online activity, data breaches, and malicious cyber attacks. We look at updated legislation, GDPR. What could a data breach mean for your organization? Have you got insurance against that? Cyber attack, you never know. It could be a phishing attempt, it could be ransomware. You never know what's around the corner. You click on a link in an email that you think has come from somebody, a trustworthy source, and it could have a severe impact on your business. So the different types of cyber attack. How could this affect you? So there's ransomware. Hackers lock a company's data. They infiltrate your system. They can lock up your data and demand a ransom. Literally, you will give us we want financial compensation to give you back your data. And there's phishing attempts. Phishing is a form of fraud where an attacker masquerades sort of a reputable entity or a person and may send you an email. You might get a text message. I've had, I don't know how many text messages from Royal Mail saying that I've got a parcel waiting and I just need to click this link and pay my £2.49 and they'll deliver my parcel. Well, that's not going to happen. There is no parcel there. You give them your bank details and all of a sudden your bank account is empty. So that's essentially a phishing attempt. Malware. Again, this can come from emails. This can come from all sorts of sources. Essentially, malware is malicious software. So it's a file or it's a piece of code that's typically it comes through your network and it can infect or steal data. It could be a form of a key logging exercise. So when you're logging onto a website, logging onto your online banking, it could be logging all the keys that you hit and essentially getting your password. So it's really intrusive, but it can sit behind the scenes and you not even know that it's there. Okay, we're looking at hacking as well. Hacking it's not always a malicious attack, but it is commonly associated with illegal activity and data theft as well. So people are getting into your system, they're there for a reason, and they're there to potentially steal something from you or cause you and your business harm. Data breach, that's where information was essentially stolen. It's taken from your system without your knowledge or your authorization, or It could be that you are aware of it. It could be that you get a signal from sort of from a software that tells you you've had a data breach. But what does that mean in terms of the data that you hold about your clients? If you're holding any sensitive data about your clients, and financial data particularly, the implications from the ICO, could be quite drastic. The fines under the GDPR, I think, I can't remember the figures. I think it's a 20 million euro maximum, or is it's a certain percentage of the turnover. But this could be devastating to any business, whether you're big, small, whatever size you are. It's a serious implication. So the UK government estimated that in 2018, 61% of large corporations and 31% of small businesses suffered a cyber breach. That's essentially 1 in 3, and that's almost 5 years ago. And the average cost for a small business is just over £3,500. This is information that's come from the Association of British Insurers. Obviously, those figures are going to be significantly more now. And the thing is, with cybersecurity as well, you may have up-to-date software. It may be something you do on a daily basis. Cyber criminals are always looking for new ways to get in and new ways to hack data and to get into systems. So the importance of cyber insurance is absolutely essential as part of your business insurance package. I've just highlighted a few of the covers that are available as part of cyber insurance, just to help you visualize it and see how it could help your business in the event of a cyber attack. So breach response and crisis management. If your systems are breached, you might be aware of it. If it's a ransomware attack, for example, or if your data goes missing, cyber insurance can help. You can ring your helpline, you get an initial assessment, you get a response advisor, somebody who is specifically trained to assist you and assist businesses in this particular eventuality. You will get legal advice. How do you handle that? If your data's gone missing, who do you need to speak to? Who do you need to inform? What are the timeframes? More importantly, for your business as well, the reputational damage. If you were to lose your data, if your business is to be breached, your website is to be breached, the reputational damage can be significant. It can cause, catastrophic consequences. So as part of that breach response and crisis management cover, most insurers will offer a PR specialist as well to help contain that damage and manage that reputational impact for you as well. Secondly, digital data replacement and reinstatement. This is beyond the realms of my capability. I'm not a technical expert, but there is expert assistance in data recovery. People that can go into your system. I wouldn't have a clue how to start myself, but people that are able to recover that are able to reverse the tracks of people, of cyber criminals, and recover your data. It can cover the cost of replacement or reinstating that data and the repair or any damage to equipment that may occur as a result. Cyber extortion, again, this relates to sort of ransomware. You would get cover for initial investigation costs, response advice, and resolution assistance. Again, it's that PR management. How is that going to affect you? Finally, something that's part of your business interruption insurance, or you will have business interruption as part of your office insurance, but this is business interruption specifically for cyber events. If your systems, if your website is taken down, you don't know how long that's going to be. It could be a day. We're looking at everything that's happening at the moment in terms of, the consequences of the hot weather that we've had. How many websites are going to be down for how long? What's the cost of that downtime to a business? If you can't access your system, can your business keep going? Business interruption can help in that respect. It can cover loss of revenue. It can also cover increased cost of working. So if you need to host through different servers, for example, in the meantime, whilst you get your business back up and running, business interruption can cover the cost of that for you. So what does cyber insurance cost? Now, like all insurances, this is dependent on many variables. If you've got a Ferrari sat in the drive, it's probably going to cost quite a bit more to insure than a Fiesta. So your industry sector is a key one. the type of data you hold, how many records do you have? If you've got 100 records, it's going to be significantly cheaper than if you've got 100 million records, for example. Your IT and your network security, these are obviously key factors for any cyber insurer. And the things that you as business owners, they're the things that we all need to have up to date to protect data, to protect your network, and to protect everybody that works for you and your clients. The extent of cover that you need, obviously, the higher the limits, the more it's going to cost. And your limits of indemnity will be tailored when you speak to us. They will be tailored to your needs and reviewed as well as your business grows. So it is essential to encompass all those things when you think of the cost of cyber insurance. We do work with a number of leading insurers in the cyber industry, Hiscox being one of them. Their policies start from as little as £200 a year. And that can cover, Hiscox offer a really broad scope of cover, as do a number of other insurers. But it is just to say, it's not going to cost you thousands of pounds. It's not going to be, a huge expense to your business. And when you think of what it can actually protect you against and the financial implications of a cyber breach, hacking, ransomware or data breach, really the cost of the insurance is insignificant to what it could cost out further down the line. So how can we help? We've partnered with the IAB to help you identify your insurance exposures. We help a number of IAB members. We provide them insurance, whether it's liability, professional indemnity, cyber insurance. It all depends on the size of the business. But we are here to support businesses of all shapes and sizes and provide advice on all aspects of insurance to ensure that your business gets the protection it needs. So if you're unsure about anything, if you just want advice, do I need this? What level do I need? Give us a call. We're always on hand to help. You can get our details through the IAB membership. Give us a call, drop us an email, let us know when we need to get in contact with you, and we'd be more than happy to help in any way that we can.
Can I just say, Becky, that the IAB guidance is for £1 million cover. Joe's asked, hi Becky, is there guidance available on the limits for professional indemnity, public liability, etc.? Obviously, every company is different. How can I find out what limits I need? And then she's put, apologies, I'm in level of insurance limits. I don't know if I've answered that by saying the IAB advisory guidance on PI insurance is £1 million.
Yeah, I'll just expand on that. Go on. Sorry, Becky.
Sorry, I think it's something that it has to be tailored to each individual business. And it's something that you need to review at all points through the year. If you're taking on a new client, just step back and think, okay, I've got X, Y, and Z. Does that meet their needs? And is it going to offer me the protection if something goes wrong? So I think the best advice there is just to speak to us. Give us a call. We're more than happy to provide advice and help you and assess your needs, for the past 12 months and the coming 12 months as well.
Okay. And just to expand on that, HMRC started a consultation last year to answer exactly that question. What is the required level of PI insurance? And they withdrew the consultation because obviously they decided that it's on an individual risk basis. At the IAB, we've just recommended that the minimum level is 1 million. So, but clearly it's entirely up to you. But that would be an entry point, really.
Thank you, Sarah. Ian said, I think the fine is 4% of turnover, and then Eva extends on that, expands even, and says, under the GDPR, the EU's data protection authorities can impose fines up to 20 million euros or 4% of worldwide turnover for the preceding financial year, whichever is higher.
Which is a significant impact on any business, that percentage of your turnover has gone. It's a huge financial impact.
Certainly going to affect your profits, losing 4%. Is there any more questions for Becky? No, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Becky.
Well, thank you ever so much for having me.
I certainly made lots of notes. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Right then, moving swiftly on to grants. Are you there, Grant? Can you stop sharing your screen now, Becky?
I'm just trying to work out how to do it. There we go. Stop share. Sorry.
All right. There we go. Is Grant there? He was
I am
earlier.
here, yes.
He is. Hello, Grant again. I'm
Hi.
sure you all recognise Grant now. Grant is from our IAB Compliance team, and Grant will be following on from the previous month's compliance updates. And in this concluding session, the theme will focus on the cover letter, the actual inspection report, and how to address the action points identified. Good morning,
Good morning,
Grant.
everybody. I'll try and keep this brief because I think my time's a little bit limited now.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
not a full rundown, and looking through the list of names, I recognise quite a lot of names that you've already been through the process, so you'll understand and know what I'm going through. You'll understand and know what you've been through as well. April and May, we took a brief journey through the inspection process and how anxiety can impact on you as members from the receipt of your AML notification. And this morning, what I'd like to focus on is the continued learning journey. And that's what we'd like to call it. It is a learning journey. When you get your inspection, it's not a pass or fail. It's the point of we are guiding you through this learning journey. So it's easy for me to sit here in my ivory tower, if you wish to call it that, and say, don't worry, everything will be fine, you'll be okay. Realistically, it will be, but you need to work with us. And I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to write it for you, but I will point you in the right direction and give you plenty of support and assistance and guidance. That is despite giving you guidelines and timelines and deadlines, which we're all used to working to. So don't make it any greater issue than it needs to be. So as Caroline said, the aims for this morning is a brief look at the inspection letter, the report, and how to address any actions that you actually receive. So your inspector will have completed a comprehensive report with the evidence gathered from the submissions that you have made prior to your face-to-face call, and then any discussions with you in the formal interview, and some by asking any further probing questions. They're not trying to trip you up or trick you. They just want to sort of get that broader view of your understanding of the legislation and what you know and how you do and how you apply the regulations. The report is viewed by our review officer before it finally comes to my attention. And by this stage, most of the work has been completed. Now, don't think that I just sit there and tick a box and send out an email, because it's not quite as simple as that. However, I will review the full report before it's emailed out to you as the member. And even at this point, there are some amendments to be made and decisions on grading and regrading. Moving on to the cover letter, and your report comes with quite a comprehensive cover letter. Please read it and read it carefully. How many times in school would you or your teacher have asked you, have you read through your work? Knowing full well that probably you haven't, because there was something on TV that you really desperately wanted to watch, or your friends had come round and called for you and you needed to get out or go somewhere. So you say, well, yeah, of course I've read it. And even my time as a tutor and lecturer, I'd ask my students, have you read through this? Knowing full well that they're going to say yes, but it's quite clear that they haven't. So it's really important to read through your work and read through the letter. Importantly, at the bottom of this, you may find that you've actually received a fine, and this actually needs to be paid within a set time, or within that set time, you may need to make representation of contesting it. The actual shortest time is 22 minutes from me sending out the final report to somebody responding. And I am a professional person, I do have a sense of humour, but it's quite clear that people have not read that letter in the questions, demands that they have been asking. So please do read it. The report that we now come on to, the top centre of the report has a date the inspectors will contact you. And that is about the time that you should have completed your actions. In most cases, you have 45 or 60 days in which to complete those actions. And this is to keep you focused and keep your mind at the task in hand. Now, academically speaking, if you went on a training course or a development course or had some presentation, just as we've had this morning, if you were asked to do a presentation or just write up in some note form, what have you actually learned from this morning's session? If you left it any longer than 4 days, you will have probably forgotten, because there is so much information being processed in your day-to-day lives. So this is why we at the compliance and with our inspectors try and get your inspection reports out as expeditiously as we possibly can. So it keeps your mind focused in that particular train of mind. So most importantly, you'll be making amendments and adjustments to your policy and procedures to the gaps that have been identified. We're not asking you to do whole rewrites of things. For example, you may actually have to just amend your SAR process. We've identified some gaps in your procedures and we just need you to fill those gaps. Some people do actually think, well, you want me to write the whole thing? No, we don't. We just want you to identify these areas and fill the gaps. So the report begins with a paragraph summarising the whole outcome. This is followed by a series of short paragraphs that assist you with completing each of the 8 inspection key issues and the mandatory and advisory actions. And this is how you're going to fix the issue or fix the gaps. The report is divided into 3 columns: the inspection key issues, the legal reference, the action plan, and these are your mandatory actions, what you must do, or the advisory actions, what we advise you to do. And then there's a grading column. And despite the grading in the 3rd column, this is an indication both to you and to us as to what work is required. Now, gradings are outstanding, good, requires improvement, or very inadequate. So, as I've already alluded to, some people have responded within minutes of receiving their reports. Others respond with a list of questions, and these are the ones that I really like, a list of questions. Some thank me for the time, others are silent, and there are some who shout, goodness sake, help me, what do I do? Where do I go from here? And there are those who call for 2 other reasons, support and direction, and 2 who have minor issues that can be resolved in a reasonable time frame. Quite often we discuss them over the telephone. And I'm sure that some of you are sat out there saying, yeah, it was quite easily just resolved over the telephone. I knew where I needed to go to, and that was the simple way of actually sort of doing it. I just needed that little bit of headspace, that little bit of guidance. And what I do, I call this, I just call it smart working. Although you'll remember early on, I don't really like mnemonics, but I'm actually sort of alluding a little bit to another mnemonic, which is being smart. So we try and keep them to being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Excuse me. So remembering your SMART mnemonic brings me on to how are you going to address your action plan? And whether you've got 3 or 4 or a dozen actions to actually complete, approach them in the same manner. Some of you will want to get them all done in one fell swoop. Others will wonder, crikey, when is this ever going to end? And others need to approach it in bite-sized chunks. And this really is the best way to actually look at them. So start at the top by the key issue and work through each of your action points. Completing 2 key issues at a time and then breaking away from it really does give you a good mindset of, have I actually sort of completed that? And it refreshes your mind when you come back to it. It allows you time then to reflect, to regroup, and to reassess before you move on to the next 1 or 2 key issues. And what you actually then find is that it's a little bit of a snowball effect. What you've actually completed previously follows on to the next two, and it makes the next two that little bit easier. So moving through in this manner, you will find that the previous task flows much more fluidly, and it's not quite as onerous. You'll find that you are learning so much more about yourself, about your business, about your practice and your processes, and you'll find that you're actually learning so much more about AML. Read through your work before you then decide to submit it or your inspector calls. Check you've completed every request. If you feel satisfied and confident, either A, wait for the inspector to call, or if you wish and you've got it completed early, then submit it to me early and I will pass it on to the review and we will do a desktop review, because the majority of your actions are completed through a desktop review. But don't be too hasty. Use the time that you've been given. And really, just finally, I just want to reiterate the fact that our aim here is to help and support and guide you through the process with the intention that you are fully compliant. It's necessary that you may receive a further action plan. Don't take this that it's a failure. It is not. It is a learning journey for you to get things right. And it's your opportunity to learn and engage with us. It's not a point that we are against you. And as one final note, and I think I'm just within time, is that please look at all the resources that are coming out from the website, that are on the website. Read the emails that come through frequently, and encourage some of you that are ambassadors out there, encourage some of your participants and people to actually join the coffee mornings and to look at those websites, because we are developing so much more information and processes to actually help support and guide you.
Yeah, I get emails very regular from the marketing team about updates to AML. So yeah.
And that's me, Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. There's no questions popped up for you, Grant, so I think you've got away with it this week. Yeah. Yeah, you've got away with it. I'd like to go to Janet now. Asked to unmute. I think Janet has some interesting information for us all. Is that right, Janet?
Oh, sorry, I'm on Samantha's laptop and it's all new. It's all changed on where my bits are on mine.
As long as you managed to find it.
Interesting news is, as you know, the AGM was in June, and during that there was a resolution to have a name change of the IAB to the Institute of Accountants and Bookkeepers. You have to apply to use the word institute, and be pleased to tell you all that that has been granted.
Yay!
And we are going to have our name change. All the paperwork is just being sent off to Companies House, and hopefully that should see on Companies House sometimes in the next sort of 10 to 14 days, I would think. And we're going to officially announce it to the world on the 1st of September. So, because due to the fact that we've got a lot of paperwork to change and a lot of policies to change and everything, and you will be getting, all members will be getting a notification probably next week or the week after to let everybody know that that's when it's going to. So we're really excited. So that is a really big challenge for us to use the word institute and to get that. So here's, as we're coming up to 50 years old, here's to the next 50 years as the Institute of Accountants and Bookkeepers. So really pleased.
Will we still be the IAB then?
We will.
Institute of Accountants and Bookkeepers.
We're still the IAB, the logo.
Very clever.
It's just, yeah, I had a moment of inspiration. Don't ask me how it happened.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't even with a gin and tonic. It was just one morning.
That's
But yeah,
Excellent.
we will still be the IAB, so the logo will stay the same. It's just that instead of saying the International Association of Bookkeepers, it will be the Institute of Accountants and Bookkeepers.
Right.
Because when we surveyed the members still wanted the word bookkeeping as well. So
Right.
it sort of fits in with everything. And those who do accountancy work, it encompasses them and feels a little bit more part of and reflects everything you do. So it also is nicer for us, for our overseas members, because they don't really get, in some countries, the word bookkeeper. Everyone's an accountant, even if you only do purchase ledger. So it's just different levels of.
Yeah.
So for them, it makes them understand better as well.
Kim's, can I just interrupt, Janet? Kim's asked if the web address will still be the same.
It
Sorry.
will, because it's IAB.org. So we've done as much as we can to sort of like get everything we need without too much change. So really, really great.
Excellent. And now quickly, I want to go to Sarah, because she's got someone she wants to introduce.
Oh, bring her
But
here.
Sarah missed the beginning of the meeting because Janet's already introduced her. But I'm going to let you introduce her a second time because she's so beautiful.
Already been on. All right, okay.
There she is.
Our new office mascot, Poker. But what I really want to encourage is we're starting a hashtag Pet Friday. So if you've got any pictures for your pets, they'll be on social media. Tom's here too, so we can start sharing.
Is that just on Friday? Is that from today?
So I don't know when we start it, Tom. Probably this Friday. Poker will kick it off on Friday.
Yeah, there's a lot of love for poker. There's so much more love for poker than there was for our guest speakers.
Mohammed's just said, I've got kids and a teddy, no pets. Is that okay? Yeah, I think we
probably fall into the same category at times. Yes.
Mohammed, can I just say I follow a teddy bear on Instagram, and the teddy bear I follow goes everywhere. He gets everywhere. So yes, hashtag Pet Friday with your teddy bear.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And just quickly before we go, just in the chat, Beki put in her contact details and thanked us for her time. So I just need to read them out because you can't see the chat on the video. So the email for Rebecca is rebecca.curtis@premierline.co.uk, or give her a call on 0738 45 333 54. Thank you.
The easiest way is just to come through the
membership at the IAB
area on the website, or if you want to contact direct, then just come through membership, and then we can send everybody together, and she's got it there.
Yeah, excellent. And our next coffee morning is Wednesday, the 17th of August at 11 a.m.
Okay, I don't know whether we are going to do an on the road one, but we think it's probably going to be.
It's going to be in September, and we probably may have to move it a week just because of location, but I'm hoping to confirm that in the next week or so. So September we will be out on the road, probably in the northwest region.
You may need to give me a ring about that.
Yes, will do. As soon as I know exactly where it is, I will let you know, Caroline. But it's probably going to be around 28th, 29th of September, we think, but I'm waiting for confirmation. It's currently in, I think, for the week before at the moment.
Yes, it is. It's currently on the 21st.
Yes, we'll give everyone plenty of notice.
But yeah, it'll be a hybrid version. So it'll still be on Zoom for those that are not around, but also there'll be opportunity for members local to come and join us in person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Brilliant. Be nice to have something up north of Watford.
I won't be biased. I'll be north.
Yeah, no.
Especially after yesterday.
Yeah. And on that note, I think we should say goodbye.
It's
Thanks everybody. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you.
And Becky.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Shane.
Bye.